Lahat ng drama, lahat ng tawanan, lahat ng iyong all-time hits. Ang tanging huntahan ng Masang Lamaw. Number 1 sa Mega Manila, nationwide pa. Broadcasting from TGON, TVH Group of Networks. Dito lang sa inyong iisang himpilan. You are listening to Cool FM, live from Cool Studios. This is koolNews at 6.
Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. I'm Stephen Liwanag del Sol for koolNews at 6. A police informant was killed by suspected gunrunners during a bypass operation in Sultan Kudarat town, Maguindanao del Norte on Friday. Lieutenant Colonel Esmael Mading, Sultan Kudarat Police Chief, said an informant had just successfully procured firearms from a group of gunrunners in Barangay Ungap in Sultan Kudarat town when he was shot. Madin said the suspect had killed Datodido Kamad Mabaluba, who was instrumental in the supposed successful entrapment operation at 7 p.m. on Friday. Madin said Mabaluba managed to acquire 2 M14 assault rifles and a caliber .22 rifle from the suspects during a sale transaction in Barangay Ungap. But the suspects were still unidentified since that they sold the unlicensed guns to an undercover agent, hence fired bullets at Mabaluba, then fled. A manhunt had been launched against a group of gun smugglers with the help of Philippine Marine soldiers in the town. In Lanao del Sur, Anti-Narcotics Agency 6.8 million worth of meth and arrested suspect drug dealer Alimar Matalikop, 40 years old, during an entrapment operation in Barangay Western Wao Town on Friday. The operation was launched with the help of soldiers from the Army's 55th Infantry Battalion. Seized from Matalikop was a kilo of meth, said Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency Director Gil Cesario Castro. From Pasig City, the local government said the traffic flow on some roads in the city may be affected due to roadworks. In its advisory on Saturday, the Pasig City Public Information Office said that starting July 16, there will be a road rehabilitation works along Sandoval Avenue in Barangay Pinagbuhatan every 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily. The project is expected to be finished by the end of this year. In a separate advisory on Friday, the Pasig PIO added that starting July 15, Dr. Pilapil Street, including the Sapang Liwanag Bridge in Barangay San Miguel, will be temporarily closed from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This was for the construction of a double-barrel concrete box culvert and a road pavement, which was expected to be finished on January 15, 2025. The city government also advised motorists to take the Mercedes Avenue for the period of the road works. The Public Information Office said, plan your trip ahead and take alternative routes. Thank you for your patience. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is set to deliver his third State of the Nation address on July 22, where he is expected to tackle the country's pressing issues on top of all the achievements his administration carried for the past year. Political analyst and professor Dr. Froilan Calilong on Saturday listed down the key considerations that Marcos would air in his address. First will be the aspect of economic context, particularly in combating inflation, because we know that the president has been very keen on trying to curb the inflation post-pandemic, Calilong said on Saturday News Forum. The political analyst pointed out how the economic aspect is associated with the agricultural self-sufficiency, including food security and monetary and fiscal policies to ensure that there will be no spike in inflation. He also noted that the inflation rate did not decrease, but the sudden spike of inflation rate is contained. Calilong noted that another important issue that the president should discuss is the current status of the minimum wage in the country. The government approved a 35 peso increase in the minimum wage of workers in the National Capital Region, where it was criticized as an insult, citing the family living wage of 1,200 pesos to survive each day. He added it would be better if we hear not just the policies but also the concrete programs because sometimes there are policies, legislations, they exist on paper, but in reality, its transmission to those we call marginalized becomes a problem. Kelly Long said that it is important to focus on inflation because it will increase public confidence and it will also increase investor confidence, which is in the long run important in creating more jobs. Carilong also seized the topic on education to be discussed, where Senator Sonny Angara was appointed as the education chief after Vice President Sara Duterte resigned from the post. Angara's appointment was widely welcomed by lawmakers and groups, citing his background on education and crafting educational policies. The political analyst said the another focal point of consideration is territorial sovereignty, particularly in the West Philippine Sea, where he believes is the meat of his foreign policy for the past year. For Calilong, we should see the gains of his foreign trips and what translated into actions and not just pledges. According to the General Appropriations Act of 2024, which the President signed in December, he was granted 1.4 billion of funds for his local and foreign trips. Marcos should also tackle corruption, communist insurgency, drugs, and petty street crimes. Calilong said that such issues are the ones the Filipinos are expecting to hear from him. The House of Representatives is ready to take swift and decisive action to ensure the approval of the 6.352 trillion budget for the 2025 and other priority bills before the end of September, according to Speaker Martin Romualdez. He also said the chamber is set to pass possible additional measures that will be highlighted during the upcoming State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. before the end of September. His statement on Sunday read, "The 2025 national budget is essential for sustaining our nation's growth and addressing the immediate needs of our citizens, and the House is ready to ensure its swift approval to support our development and progress." He said the Department of Budget and Management will submit to Congress the 6.352 trillion National Expenditure Program on July 29 or within 30 days after the SONA, as stated under the 1987 Philippine Constitution. He added that the House would ensure the timely transmission of the national budget 10% higher than this year's allocation of 5.768 trillion to the Senate. After Congress approves it, the NEP becomes the General Appropriations Bill that the President will sign into law. Below are the following measures that were enacted: the Act Emancipating Agrarian Reform, the Act Establishing Maharlika Investment Fund, rationalizing the disability pension of veterans, establishing specialty centers in DOH hospitals and JOCC specialty hospitals, establishing the National Employment Master Plan, Trabaho para sa Bayan, protecting online consumers and merchants engaged in internet transactions, Paying Taxes Act, the Act granting benefits to Filipino octogenarians and non-nogenarians, educational institutions to allow disadvantaged students to take examinations despite unpaid fees, workers in the movie and television industry, teaching allowances for public school teachers, the availment of a state tax amnesty, and mandating private higher educational institutions to waive college entrance examination fees for certain students. Among the three of the 28 LEDAC bills still up for approval in the lower chamber are amendments to the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, the Agrarian Reform Law, and the Foreign Investors Long-Term Lease Act. In the weather news, a low-pressure area was spotted outside the Philippine Area of Responsibility earlier Sunday morning. It may develop into a tropical depression or cyclone within the next 24 hours, according to the State Weather Bureau. In a morning forecast from Pag-asa said the LPA outside Philippine Area of Responsibility was last monitored around 3 a.m. about 885 kilometers west of Central Luzon. Within the next 24 hours, the LPA has a high chance of becoming a full-blown typhoon or tropical depression. However, we do not expect this to affect any part of the country directly, Daniel James Villamil emphasized. Villamil likewise reported that they are monitoring cloud clusters within the Philippine Area of Responsibility located east of Mindanao. These cloud clusters can also become an LPA that can cause rains in the eastern part of the Visayas and Mindanao, according he noted as well. According to the weather specialist, there's a high chance of rain and scattered thunderstorms in the west section of Luzon and most parts of Visayas and Mindanao due to the combined effects of the cloud clusters and southwest monsoon or habagat. Meanwhile, no gale warning was raised in any of the country's seaboards. Coming up on koolNews at 6, Alice Ghost accounted, arrested, detained by the Senate of the Philippines. Vice President Sara Duterte's designated survivor joke was poor in taste, according to a lawmaker. In the international news, coming in the international news, U.S. authorities to provide an update on investigation into Trump assassination attempt. Many on the and Seattle University Associate Teaching Professor Dr. Patrick Skodmetter says the many on the far left falsely claim attempted Trump assassination was quote unquote staged. And for entertainment news, Binny will appear in the KCON this 2024 at Los Angeles. We will return after a short break. Suspended Bamban Tarlac Mayor Arisco's accountant Nancy Gamo is now under the custody of the Senate following her arrest on Saturday afternoon, according to Senate President Francis Chis Escudero. Citing General Robert Ancan of the Senate's Office of the Sergeant at Arms, Escudero's office revealed that Gamo was arrested at 1 p.m. She underwent a medical checkup before she was taken to detention in the Senate. Gamo was found in good health condition, according to the OSAA. Last July 10, the Senate panel on women cited Go and others for contempt and ordered their arrest for skipping the chamber's hearing on the local officials' alleged ties to the Philippine offshore gaming operator in Tarlac. The order covers Go and Gamo as well as Dennis Cunanan, Wen Yulin, Simon El Go, Jianzhong Go, Wesley Go, and Sheila Go. However, OSAA teams deployed to garment factories in Maridel, Bulacan, and Valenzuela City were not able to find the Go siblings and Cunanan. Vice President Sara Duterte's self-appointment as the designated survivor is poor in taste and reflection of a dangerous and outdated approach to politics that we must leave behind, Anak Kalusugan Party List Representative Ray Reyes said on Sunday. The lawmaker also said Duterte's joke trivializes the serious matters of national security. Duterte named herself a designated survivor after she was asked if she would attend the third State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Marcos on July 22. In the United States, a designated survivor is a government official chosen to stay at a secure location during events where top leaders are gathered to ensure the continuity of government in case a catastrophic event kills or incapacitates the president, vice president, and other top officials. Reyes said, as a nation striving for unity and progress, we cannot afford to indulge in toxic politics that undermine the trust and cooperation necessary for effective governance. In Bagong Pilipinas, we envision a country free from the shadows of toxic politics. The lawmaker also urged the public officials to rise above petty politics and contribute positively to the nation's development. He added, the future of our country hinges on our collective efforts to create a political culture that prioritizes the welfare of the Filipino people. It is high time that we move beyond the politics of fear and division and work towards a united, prosperous, and resilient Philippines. House Speaker Martin Romualdez said, every public official has the prerogative to decide on their attendance at significant events, but the SONA should feature unity among the country's leaders. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco believes Duterte was just joking when she named herself a designated survivor because there is no such thing in the country. Duterte did not provide any reason or explanation for why she opted to skip the SONA. Duterte resigning as the Secretary of DepEd and Vice Chair of the NTF-ELCAC. Her resignation will take effect this July 19. Senator Sonny Angara will replace her as the Education Secretary. Coming up on International News.
This looks like it is the beginning of a very important police press conference, folks. The police, FBI, Secret Service. It'll involve all the key detail, I'm sure, about the events that unfolded today. We've already just received word that the shooter was a 20-year-old kid from Pennsylvania, which I'm sure is about to be confirmed. And police, according to Fox News, our colleagues, are also looking at a van from the area of the shooting that they might well be looking at the moment. So let's just pick this up. Big press conference of the morning for all this latest detail, the latest detail that police have got.
That's R-O-J-E-K. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI Pittsburgh field office. The first thing I want to say is that the FBI stands with the people of Butler County in Western Pennsylvania, and our hearts go out to the victims of this heinous act which occurred today. This is our community, and I want to let the public know that the FBI has deployed a number of our resources, including investigative agents, our evidence response team, bomb technicians, and we have additional resources coming from other field offices, as well as from FBI headquarters, including our evidence response from Quantico, Virginia. We have intelligence analysts as well, working from our field office in Pittsburgh, working feverishly to attempt to identify the individual who did this and any motives behind why this was done. Right now, we need the public's help. Anyone who was on scene, who saw anything, who identified any information, please report that to the FBI using either the phone number 1-800-CALL-FBI or online at fbi.gov/Butler. This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well. Again, at this time, we are not prepared to identify who the shooter is. We are close to that identification, and as soon as we are 100% confident in who that individual is, we will share it with the press. With that being said, also, we do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was. At this time, I'm going to turn over the podium to Colonel Chris Paris from the Pennsylvania State Police.
Yeah, we can't really see much there, so we'll bring in Dr. Patrick Schuttmer, who's the Associate Teaching Professor at Seattle University who specialises in US politics. What a day, Patrick. I mean, I don't know, I've seen that attempted assassination, the video of that about 100 times, and it's just even more shocking each new time you look at it, the fact that we've seen this in 2024.
Yes, it's been a long time since we've had an assassination attempt against the president, but we have seen rising trends of violence in American politics over the last decade. And in fact, this isn't even actually the first assassination attempt against Donald Trump at a rally. There was, you may recall, a 2016 attempt by a British citizen named Michael Sanford, who attempted to draw a gun of a police officer at a rally in Las Vegas. So this isn't the first time we've seen Donald Trump targeted with violence, but this is certainly the closest anyone's gotten to him. Or any former president since the Reagan assassination attempt in 1981. Yeah,
Reagan, that's right. Yeah, and I mean, look, this threat is always there, isn't it? Each presidential candidate has them, and so they always run this risk. But I mean, the fact that we've just actually seen this play out live on TV and the blood on his face, I mean, this is just an image of the times that will be played over and over and over again. It will run throughout the rest of this campaign, won't it?
Oh, it will certainly be an important part of the story moving forward. Both the incident itself and the president's reaction to it will unavoidably become part of what the voters are going to be thinking about when they come to making their decisions in November.
Look, the politics of this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there is the politics in this, and this does give him a boost, does it not?
It should give him at least a short-term boost of sympathy. It's really hard to say how this is going to play out in the long term. We expected, for example, there to be a fairly long-term impact on voters' perception of things after the January 6th riots in 2021. But within a few months, voters fell back to their baseline. The fact that this is happening in July, we don't know what the long-term impact is, and we're just going to have to see how the voters interpret it.
Okay, so a few points to this next question. How does this change when it comes to campaigning, stump speeches, all that kind of stuff? Up until November, how will security change now?
Well, security measures are a little bit out of my range of expertise, but in general, we know that these sorts of rallies are the single most vulnerable moments that candidates themselves face. And if we look at Japan, a few years ago, Shinzo Abe was assassinated during various campaign meeting. And so the Secret Service has always taken these events as being their highest priority, but they are often set up in a relatively short notification. So there's only so much that Secret Service agents can do to secure a particular location. So this may impact either the nature of the rallies that President Trump and President Biden have moving forward, or at least change the sorts of locations where they'll choose more enclosed and hardened facilities that will allow them to more effectively secure the outer perimeters.
So much has been made about political discourse at the moment that's been fueled by the anger on social media, also been fueled by rhetoric that is used by all sides of politics at the moment. How do you expect messaging could well change over the coming weeks and months, Patrick?
Well, Nathan Calmo and Lily Mason have a really interesting line of research looking at the rise of tolerance for violence in American politics over the last decade and a half. And they have found that as our partisan affiliations have intensified since 2011, 2012 in particular, but especially since 2016, Americans have been more welcoming of violence and more quick to blame the other side. And we've seen this play out early on in social media, like on Threads or on Twitter or on Facebook, where many on the far left were accusing this of being a false flag operation or a staged operation, while those on the far right were trying to blame Joseph Biden for this attack itself. In a vacuum of information, often misinformation will quickly move in to fill the void, and both social media outlets and fact checkers are going to have to be working overtime to push back against a lot of the narratives that are likely to take root among particularly hardcore partisans, where you could see an inflammation of these hostilities towards one another with such a dramatic attack on the former president.
Yeah, okay, that's Dr. Patrick Shat.
Breakfast muna!
That was the voice from the Shell University associate professor. To close off the koolNews at 6, the nation's girl group Bini is set to make waves on the international stage as they join the lineup for a pre-show at KCON LA. The 8-member group will represent the Philippines at one of the biggest K-pop events happening later this month at Los Angeles, United States. KCON USA announced Sunday on its X account. Behind the recent hit songs such as Pantropico and Salamin Salamin will perform at the M Countdown concert pre-show on July 27. M Countdown is a music program broadcast by Mnet, the South Korean music channel run by CJENM, which organizes this KCON. KCON LA will run from July 26 to 28 at the Crypto.com Arena and LA Convention Center. The lineup also includes big-name and rising K-pop acts like NCT 127, Shinese Taemin, Block B Zico, Hyolyn, and Hypen, John Somi, Stacey, Boy Next Door, and TWS, among others, according to the KCON website. We will return for koolNews Primetime later at 9 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. The music continues here on Kool FM. I'm Stephen Nawanig Dosol. Good night.